Thank you.
Fantastic.
So, good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Feeding Future Generations Exploring Technology and Sustainability Solutions session. We have with us two amazing guests speaking to us from their perspectives as a restaurateur and a large corporate, both engaging with farmers, consumers, regulations, standards, sustainability agendas, technology, and much more from their unique perspectives. I could use up all of my time to introduce them, but I'll give them some time in a few minutes to speak about themselves. Just briefly, Ahmed El Shal is the General Secretary of Danone, responsible for business services on corporate, regulatory, public and government affairs, as well as legal, compliance, sustainability and communications for the Middle East and Africa region. I am not envious of his job and portfolio, for the record. Ahmed started at Danone in 2010 as the Director of Government and Regulatory Affairs for the Middle East, Africa, and Southeast Asia. His current role over the years has developed to incorporate many sustainability topics, including circularity and carbon footprints. He is an active member of the Dubai Chambers Sustainability Network, Medical Nutrition International Industry, and the UAE Food and Business Group, amongst others. Omar Shehab is the founder and chief sustainability officer of the Michelin Green Star restaurant Boca, a multi-award winning European restaurant located right here in Dubai's International Financial Center. So if you haven't been, I'm not going to say more than that. The visionary behind the restaurant, Omar founded Boca with the belief that there are enough creative people in the UAE to run a forward-thinking restaurant that can rival any world-class concept. He is an advocate of local food and farming, foraging, exploring new food sources, rethinking dining experiences, and collaborating across borders and industries. Born and raised in the UAE, Omar now focuses on leading the sustainability initiatives of Boca, which have been incorporated into the restaurant's operations from the get-go. Omar is also the Galton Millau, I hope I pronounced that right, UAE
Close.
2022 Sustainability Champion of the Year, and an advisor to the UAE Restaurant Group, amongst others. Before I hand over to each of them to introduce themselves, their work, and their interest in today's topic, 3 points from me. First, my aim is to keep just about enough time that if you have any questions as the audience or opinions, we would love to hear them. Second, a few words on the topic, and more so numbers one can emphasize, through which one can emphasize the urgency of this topic. The world produces enough food to feed all 8 billion people. Yet, 828 million people go hungry every day. 9 million die each year from hunger-related causes. Many of these are children under the age of 5. World food production must rise 60% to keep pace with demographic change over the next decades. However, crop yields declining of 10 to expected decline of 10 to 25% may be widespread by 2050 due to climate change, and rising temperatures are predicted to reduce catches of the world's main fish species by 40%. Food is the cause of 30% of all of our carbon emissions. Of it, livestock contributes nearly 2/3. Global food and loss, believe it or not, waste generates about 8% of humankind's annual greenhouse gas emissions. Currently, 1/3 of the food we produce is either lost or wasted. The global costs of wastage is approximately, hold your breath, $2.6 trillion per year, including $700 billion of environmental costs and $900 billion of social costs. The UN predicts that we will fall well short of our goals for zero hunger and less than 1.5 degrees warming by 2030. So, could there be a more urgent? Could there be a more urgent time and need for sustainability and technology solutions at scale? Technology of how to better grow, better source, better consume, better informed decision making, and. If you missed some of that, It was just me being a bit poetic, so it's okay. Lastly, I am your host for the next 45 minutes. My name is Shanu Saran, and I'm a food and agriculture systemspreneur. Over the past 15 odd years, I have worked and lived across 5 continents. With the UN World Food Programme, I worked on billion-dollar supply chains to address food insecurity across 80 plus countries. I subsequently built a first-of-its-kind public-private partnership reaching 150,000 smallholder farmers in 4 Eastern African countries, which was recognized as Fast Company's 2019 Most Innovative Company in Africa. In more recent times, I managed the relationship of NASA to understand data and capacity requirements of African governments around agriculture, water, and weather, and have just wrapped up the design of a Crunchbase, but for food and agriculture focused on the Global South. In my current role as Managing Director Africa with Food Systems for the Future, I steer the portfolio development of nutrition-focused sustainable businesses supported by Impact Capital. As a first, we are in the midst of setting up the largest automated insect-based protein facility in the Global South to address increasing food prices, increasing food waste, and decreasing soil health. I hope to replicate that soon, maybe even here. So, enough of what I was saying so far, and I'll hand it over to the panelists. First, maybe to you, Omar, for a few words.
Thank you, Shanu. You've definitely summarized what is wrong with the industry today. Why are we here, part of this panel, and the topic of feeding future generations. Just to quickly recap and reintroduce myself, perhaps, and my involvement and why am I here today with you. I run a restaurant that's not so far away from here. It's in Dubai's International Financial Center, so very close to the train center over here. The restaurant's name is Boka. We created Boka back in 2014, a homegrown concept. And as you rightfully said, I believed that we have enough creative people living and working here in the city that we can come up with our own concept of a restaurant, a dining concept that could rival any important or big import from any major city in the world. We are a green Michelin star restaurant that is the highest form, highest accolade in gastronomy that anyone can receive, especially for responsible dining. I am also the Chief Sustainability Officer of the restaurant. Why Sustainability Officer? A few years back, I found myself spending more than half of my time thinking about ways of operating a much more responsible dining experience without compromising the quality of that experience, without compromising the quality of food or service. But let me take you back and tell you about the journey that had us arrive to where we are today. What are we doing? What does sustainable dining mean? So this really started from the get-go. Because we were building a homegrown concept, a restaurant from this city, from the UAE, we thought we could dedicate parts of our menu to local ingredients. Again, what does that mean? We live in the desert with such limited resources. Less than 5% of the country's arable land. We looked to the coastline. We have 1,380 kilometers of coastline looking over 2 bodies of sea, the Arabian Gulf and the Indian Ocean. So very simply, we took something called the fishing calendar that's currently still available at the Ministry of Climate Change and Environment's website, and it details every species that lives in the Gulf and what are the better months to consume it. So with that in hand and with cash in hand, our chefs went to the fish market to explore and introduce these species into the kitchen, some of which have never made it to commercial kitchens before. But it was really us wanting to dedicate time and effort and try to introduce some creativity to introduce this fish variety in the best way possible. And that grew on us. So that became the thing that we would look forward with every menu issue with every menu that we would introduce. We would go out there and experiment with more variety. And as the country's food security agenda became so prominent, we started hearing of new farms come into play: traditional, organic, hydroponic, aquaponic. So we started featuring a lot of the ingredients into our menus. Dibebe oysters came into play. Beautiful oysters that are growing in the ocean, in the Indian Ocean, producing high quality oysters that have the right amount of meatiness and salinity. So that became the only oyster variety that we would introduce in our menus. We then obviously looked into the vegetable farms, places like Emirates Biofarm, some other smaller farms that are producing some exceptional produce. We now buy our tomatoes from Pure Harvest Smart Farms in Al Ain. They produce 6 variety of tomato, exceptional quality. Buy strawberries from them as well. We then moved a little bit, we got into a deeper discussion at that point to try to understand what is native to the UAE as well, what grows here naturally. So we looked to native desert plants that grow in season. If you grew up in the Arabian Peninsula or anywhere in this region, you might identify with things like khubbez and hummed. We also looked to some other variety that is maybe forgotten or a little bit rare, things like khansur and sheikh, things that are only accessible through foragers. And all of these grow in different areas of the UAE. So really our approach was to show that although we live in the desert, but there are things that we have to look a little bit closer, a little bit deeper, and use and spend a lot more time to experiment. And if you allow me to expand on our sustainability journey, that now forms one pillar of our entire sustainability manifesto, if you like. The second part was looking at waste. And it was during the time when there was a lot of discussion on single-use plastic and single-use straws. And I thought, is this really the issue? Are single-use plastic straws the problem that we have? The only way to find out is to measure. You cannot change what you cannot measure. So I formalized a position within the restaurant, a waste officer. So that person's role is to make sure that we're, first of all, segregating 6 types of waste, and then taking measurement before every item leaves the restaurant. We're taking weight. Very simple formula, a scale before every item leaves the restaurant, and then recorded on a piece of paper. We now have more than 5 years worth of data on every single item of waste that leaves the restaurant. And only then were we able to have conversations internally with the different production areas, with the kitchen, with the beverage team, with the floor team, to understand what is the amount of waste that they're producing from every production element. We were able to have conversations with our suppliers. So because of obviously bottled water, glass was our highest category of waste by weight. So we were then able to speak to our supplier to find out ways on how they can pick up these bottles. We introduced obviously house filtered water where we can reuse these bottles. And that became something that we monitor and have conversations regularly with our teams. So waste was our second category. We went then to look at our entire consumption of energy. Just like any establishment, just like any business, any household, we consume a lot of energy to cool, to obviously power the place, to the gas that we cook. So these are numbers and data that is easy to find out. And with simple formulas like switching off the lights before we leave the restaurant, we can't obviously switch off our chillers or our air conditioning, but we can make sure that we are maintaining our equipment up to scratch, decommissioning some of the old equipment that is consuming a lot more energy. There was a way as well for us to move our energy consumption to renewable. And there is a way for establishments like us that don't have access to solar panels on our roof, that we can go to the Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Solar Park and ask them to dedicate a panel that would feed enough electricity to power Boca into the grid and then feed to us. And with that, we can officially say that Boca today runs on 100% renewable energy. And as we will find out later, this has removed almost 7% of our overall carbon emissions. Because moving to that fourth pillar, again, we wanted to understand to a deeper level, what is the impact of everything that we're doing, from waste reduction to sourcing locally to looking at our energy consumption. So we hired a carbon management consultancy called Element 6. They came in and audited our entire operation and production life cycles to arrive at our first carbon emissions report that we published. All of this information is made available on our website, but we also introduced it in our menus. So not only will you go through items of food, but you will be able to see our overall impact and where it's coming from. And what would be the impact of you as a guest dining with us for the 2-3 hours that we spend with us, being served by the people, by us commuting to work today, either driving our own cars, carpooling, what kind of car do we drive, through metro or cycling. So it's really the most accurate impact detail that you can find in any restaurant. Obviously with that, we're able to set achievable targets, hopefully. And the last pillar is something that is maybe not always talked about when we talk about sustainability, is the human element. So talking about the community, our own staff, the people that work for us, the welfare of and the well-being, and their career development paths, their mental health, but also the community outside of the restaurant. So we contribute to multiple organizations, multiple charities, from ocean conservation to recently relief efforts in Gaza and Palestine, and moving even to working with the Canine Friends to help shelter dogs as well. So it is a journey that got us to here. And regarding the question, what is our involvement of feeding the future generations? Well, we are in the business of feeding people, and we are part of the food system. The food system is obviously the way that we grow, transport, distribute into the food, into retail, into restaurants. And there are obviously a lot of challenges right now. There are a lot of changes, either through pandemics, climate change, human conflict. So I think it's really critical for us to be engaged in this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks, Omar. I think I forgot everything you said after you said canine, so sorry about that. But Ahmed, over to you, please.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Omar. Very inspiring. So first, I would like to start that I'm really proud to present Danone here in such a remarkable forum and with a great panel. I would like just first to give a glimpse about Danone. We are a leading food and beverage company specialized in 3 key divisions. First one is dairy and plant-based. Second division is specialized nutrition. And the third division is water. So in Danone, we really have a very strong belief that we can change the world through food. How we can do that through our mission is to bring health through food to as many people as possible. And also through our vision, which is One Planet, One Health. With One Planet, One Health vision, it's a call to all consumers in a global level, in local level, everyone who has really a stake in food to join the journey of food innovation. We also aiming locally and globally to inspire a more healthy eating and drinking habits. This is very important, how to play a big role to educate our consumer, educate our partner to move to more sustainable, healthier eating and drinking habits, offering a local impact by offering a great products and portfolio that's sugar-free, that rely under the health category. So this is one of our key aspects under our mission of One Planet, One Health. We also have a strong belief that the health of the planet and the health of people are somehow connected. So we need to work in both angles. And To make this vision and make this vision like life and to make it sustainable and make it even measurable, we focus in four key pillars. I can say like in our 2030 strategy, we are focusing in climate with many actions we are doing in climates, like our commitment globally to be carbon neutral by 2050. And the second pillar, it's about circular economy. And we have, again, a very strong commitment that all our packaging by 2025, after 2 years from now, it will be 100% recyclable, reusable, or disposable, which again is a very strong commitment behind circular economy. Third pillar, water. What we are doing for water, how to ensure this valuable resource to be accessible to everyone in the planet. And the fourth pillar, which we are working at, again, it's agriculture and how to share practices to protect soil, to improve animal welfare, and also to start leading for a new generation of farm and farmers. These are kinds of global vision or global direction. What about small or like a quick example of local examples in our region here and in UAE? I'm proudly to say that we start by removing a plastic straw in all our medical portfolio. Our medical portfolio, it comes with a plastic straw. We even before the government like bans the plastic, we remove that from our portfolio. Not only that, but also we have the first launch ever of Evian water, which is in 100% recyclable bottle, label free, no label, and the bottle itself can be recyclable. And we launched this bottle only in 3 countries as a first wave. UAE among the pioneer in this waves. It was in USA, Japan, and UAE. And many other examples about raising the awareness, either for our employees, how really to raise the awareness and to believe in the sustainability and agenda of sustainability, and with our consumers. And we realized something very, very interesting. All reports right now, they found out that Generation Z are really willing to spend behind sustainable brands and sustainable products. The new generation start really looking to know who is behind the company, who is behind the brand. Is this company is really think about environment, think about social? So I think like this 4 key pillars and giving the global approach and execute this vision in local market, it will pave a way, of course, to ensure that we are in the journey of sustainability and feeding new generation. Yeah, thank you.
Looks like 4 is a magic number. Both of you have 4 pillars. So I'm going to have to do some homework on that. I guess I'm curious, like picking up on what you were saying, Ahmed, like what is driving your sustainability conscience? Is it the consumer, the sector, shareholders, regulators, you?
Actually, it's a very good question. Thank you for that. I will say this is my personal belief. It's a bit of everything. So every single one of us really in the driving seat. So if you talk about consumer, there is a big role of consumer, like how to really pick and intensify companies which really spend on sustainability. Restaurants, like as Omar mentioned, that really they have a very inspiring sustainability story. So consumer have a very strong role to play part on this discussion and this role. Government, and I can say here, I'm proud that we are in UAE, they are paving the way for all sustainability projects, all sustainability regulation, green legislation, green economy. They are really leading in the leading position among all other government in Middle East. So the government have a great and significant role to shape the environment and make the environment ready for such change. And then come the industry. either the global industries, the private industries are playing a huge role. We hear from Omar like how his pillars in different aspects, the food waste, sustainable local resources, like the energy. We hear like how it's really having an impact. So I believe like everyone has a role. It's a mix of all of us, either consumer, government, stakeholders, depend in which hat you are wearing. Like I can wear the hat of consumer, then I can wear the hat of corporate, and of course, someone can wear the hat of government. Yeah.
Omar?
Thank you, Ahmed. I think really well said, because it's an overall holistic approach for us in the restaurant. It has been, it started really with setting that commitment. So when you have that commitment with the people in the driving seat, when you have that commitment from the top level, and you have obviously the buy-in from everyone within the restaurant, that becomes the narrative. From that point onwards, it was really curiosity that allowed us to go out there and educate ourselves and how we are part of that food system. And I think that's really key. And it goes back to some of the data elements that you shared earlier on, that as restaurants, we are an integral part of the food system. And the food system is responsible for 1/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions. 1/3 of the world's food is never consumed, contributing to 10% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. Us as restaurants, we also belong to the hospitality sector, and that is responsible for 10% of the world's GDP. We employ 1 in 10 people, 60% of whom are women. So not only do we have the biggest responsibility, but perhaps the largest opportunity to make a difference and make a change. So knowing all of this is really like a bell that we cannot unring. So you start seeing things with this new lens. So it's really about setting the commitment, building capacities, understanding and educating ourselves on how we fit into all of this, and where are these impacts, and then measuring our impact, measuring our waste, and setting achievable targets. And with that, you have this kind of unbreakable momentum and commitment. And really, it's the onus is on us, on all of us, whether we're consumers, whether we're corporates, whether we're restaurateurs, to do all of this. So for me, as a restaurant, as a dining destination, this is my responsibility that I set myself against. Now, whether the consumer comes to me because they care about this or not, that is secondary to me, because I have set that commitment. I've said, I want to run the most responsible operation that I know, but at the same time, it will not compromise the quality, and it will be worth the hard-earned dirhams that you're spending with me. So if you don't care and you come into the restaurant, you're going to have a great meal, great service, in a great setting. That's okay. If you want to know a little bit more, then obviously we're willing to share all the information and knowledge that we have.
So I guess building on that, the knowledge and information you have, like what sustainability practices, tools would you like suggest to drive this global change across the sector?
So I think for us in the restaurant, it will have to be addressing the pain points that we have, that I see among obviously my setup in the restaurant and my peers in other restaurants. It starts with capacity building. It starts with that educational element. The topic of sustainability, we can agree that it's a little bit of a dry topic. It is multidisciplinary as well. So it requires knowledge of different sciences, different aspects. So I think tech could definitely help in terms of breaking down and helping all of us visualize what it means for us in the restaurant industry. So there's definitely one. The second part is helping us build that framework that is meant for restaurants. There are many sustainability frameworks that address, mobility, like we were talking about earlier on in the previous sessions, and obviously multiple industries, in hospitality in general, in hotels. But for restaurants, I think this is a new narrative, and there has to be a framework that could be tech-enabled to help us all fall in line and all be working towards one common goal. So that's something that could definitely be set. Data collection is going to be key for sure. Again, you cannot change what you cannot measure. So helping us in acquiring that data, whether it's a small restaurant or a large corporate, AI could definitely help in this case in modeling a lot of that data, but we need to feed it with something. So how can a small, tiny cafeteria jump on that sustainability journey without having to invest too much time and effort? So there could be some modeling exercises that is fed by data from other places that could help us understand the impact of these smaller venues. And then of course communication. So communicating all of this internally, helping us visualize it, and then communicating it externally as well, and feeding to government initiatives or just publicly.
Thanks. I guess, Ahmed, there was something you had mentioned before, like about the role of government. Could you expand a bit on that and like maybe share some experience, like particular experience on it?
The role of government on sustainability journey. Yes, as I said before, I feel blessed and lucky that we are living here because really, like, if I have the scope of Middle East, North Africa, so I can say with proud that UAE is leading when it comes to new regulation, new innovation, legislation, green rules, how to even apply this rule. So I'm proud to say that UAE really paving the way. And the key example happening soon, it will be COP28, which it will be held here. And you can see like really there is a massive and huge effort behind this conference. And I personally believe there will be a great outcomes and commitment from this COP28 when it comes to the pillar of energy, climate, inclusive diversity, all these pillars. What else happening? The government here in UAE, they are offering a platform of win-win situation with the industries, either local industries or global industries. So they put this sustainable platform, which we keep together, the industry, the consumer, the government. We hear each other. We put our point of view. I will give a specific example. When any new legislation issued by the government, they open it for a discussion and recommendation. And we have a kinds of exercise, building exercise to embed our comments and to understand what is the consumer point of view, what is the corporate point of view, which again, here it's pioneering when it comes to this platform, because in other countries, the law is low, like there is no time for consumer or for, I can say like industry to react. So that's why like I can say like offering a sustainable platform for interaction and discussion with the industries and the consumer, having a new legislations behind green community, green, I can say like energy, intensify even the green talent generations. We can see like, I think this conference or this summit is one of them, like how to empower our young generation and how to make them well equipped when it comes to the new concept of sustainability, green. We need the new generation to be really well equipped about that. So I think also the government play a massive role here. Then it comes a pillar of communication and awareness, which again, we can see many campaigns during Ramadan, during what's happening like recently in Gaza. We are like really partnership with National Food Bank. The government are leading a lot of initiatives here to support humanity and these aspects. So there's example of some key pillar of government actions. If I can summarize them, it will be putting the platform for interaction and discussion, having awareness and communication and the education campaign, putting and creating new legislations behind greens and behind the new sustainability aspects, either in climate, in energy, in water or agriculture. So this summarizes like how I see as a government rules there.
That's very encouraging compared to many of the countries that I tend to work in on the African continent, where that is not something you hear often. So I think maybe I'll ask one small last question to each of you and then open up to see if there is any opinions, questions from like the people here. But just, I guess, quickly, Omar, one challenge that you are still dealing with in the world of sustainability, maybe technology has a place for it or not.
Obviously, we talked about a lot of the challenges that we face in terms of education, in terms of.
So I guess your top one outstanding challenge that you have not figured out.
I don't know. What I know is that I don't think we need more tech solutions. I think we need more humans applying tech solutions to answer the bigger questions. How is it the year 2023, and just like you said earlier on, we have more than 800 million people going to bed hungry every day, when we're producing enough food to feed everyone? And with the topic of food waste as well comes into play. How is it the year 2023 and the United Nations Food Program only 2 weeks ago added a new country to the list? They added Palestine to the list of countries that require urgent help. So tech is known to be a disruptive of processes, disruptive of value chains, of the way that we do business today, usually for the benefit of shareholders. Can we use tech? And so it's usually a zero-sum game. So can tech be applied by humans to answer these pressing issues and not having a zero-sum game? I think that's the question that's always on my mind.
Ahmed.
Yeah. If you talk about only one challenge, I will say how to find a platform to incentivize the responsible business or the responsible companies. Like if I am a company really putting a serious and strong commitment behind sustainability, if I am a restaurant, if I am an entity and really applying all sustainability, how the government and how to find a way to incentivize this business and to get a list of, what can I say, benefits, like as Omar mentioned, maybe the taxation part. But I think it's critical to keep the journey and to empower the journey to find a robust way to incentivize all the action and movement behind sustainability. Yeah.
Thank you. So I know we're standing between you and hopefully a healthy and responsible lunch. And happy to. Do we have microphones? Okay. So it was first that gentleman, second, third, fourth. Oh, we need these things now.
Thank you. My name is Vijay Kumar Bhatia, and thank you for the very enlightening discussion. I have a question in two parts. Can we say that sustainability efforts go against business sustainability due to ROI for business? And the second part is the ROI concept delaying sustainability efforts?
Thank you very much for the question. You will reflect on a company perspective
Right.
when it comes to ROI and sustainability. We have a common goal that sustainability should lead to a business revenue. So we cannot do sustainability projects away from business or doing like in a separate forum. So the ultimate goal of all sustainability projects, how to find a link between sustainability and, I can say, the revenue generation. And we have many projects behind that, like how to measure, like if we did 4 or 5 projects per year behind sustainability, how to measure the impact on the business, either impact on consumer awareness, either impact on revenue for healthy products, either impact for building allies with the government. So your point is 100% valid, because we saw recently some direction that put sustainability as not a business enabler or a business driver. They are putting sustainability as even like a business blocker. But the way that the companies, the business can look into it, it should be linked to the revenue. It should be considered as a license to operate. It should be lead to a kind of a sustainable business. I will give one example. Here in UAE, we are recently certified for a certificate called P Corp. Just in a very short summary, the P Corp certificate, it is a movement of company that having a proof to use business as a force for good. What does that mean? They are measuring the company revenue, sales, and the company commitment to environment and social aspects. So they are measuring 3 pillars. This gives a kind of proof that if you focus on environment, focus on social, by default, you will have an impact on revenue. I don't know if my colleagues would like to build on that.
Just really quickly.
Thank you. That's the second part also, right? Is it delaying the sustainability effort?
Is ROI delaying sustainability?
I think it will take us a bit of time to, especially in our industry, if I talk about the restaurant industry, I think it will take us a bit of time for us to understand how we can measure so that we know our overall impact on sustainability and develop that framework so that we can then translate it into ROI. So two quick examples from my side. If measuring our waste, understanding, for example, one element, which is the organic waste, and incentivizing our teams, at least this is what we do in the restaurant, incentivizing my executive chef and her team in the kitchen to reintroduce elements that are usually considered waste, the peels and the chops, things that are generally discarded in a fine dining establishment. So fine dining was created to serve the best part of the best ingredient flown from the best place in the world. If we can change that mentality and shift the narrative to really introducing elements that are usually considered waste back into the dish, and if that could contribute to 1% in food cost, those are huge savings that can definitely contribute to the bottom line.
I guess maybe I'll just add something from my side. I think when it comes to ROI versus sustainability, for me, sustainability is like adoption of any technology. You have to make an initial investment. You have to sort of keep a budget and an entire space aside for it and play with it in the long term. It can't be a short-sum game is like the experience that I would share.
So,
sorry, if I may, there are other questions. So we're happy to chat with you afterwards, but I'll just move it to the others.
Thank you.
So gentleman at the front, please. Did you want? Yeah. Sorry. Oh, and sorry. They keep missing you while you're in the front row.
Yes, it's a very good insight, but I just want to add that you told there are so many millions of people not having a food and everything. So in my opinion, there are 2 billion people, those who don't have a clean water to drink.
2.3 billion who do not have access to
3 months back, I had an
food,
info
water.
of 2 billion. So now they must have increased because of the war. So 2 billion people, they don't have a clean water to drink. So what are the goals of sustainability in that segment? As you are from UN.
Just quickly on what we're doing in the restaurant. So we're moving into measuring the impact of every dish that we serve in terms of emissions, but also in terms of water consumption. So those are two criteria that will hopefully feed into the future menus. So making sure that it's low impact and low water consumption. So there's obviously an entire process from the ingredient that is grown, so it's water consumption to grow it, and then water consumption to actually arrive at the plate as a final dish. So from our small perspective.
From the perspective of restaurant, I will not emphasize so much, but the real emphasis is how best the world is doing to make the water reach to those people, those who don't have clean water. That's my point.
So I think it's a couple of things, and I think it touches maybe from a food and agriculture perspective. What I can say is the amount of consumption of water that happens, for instance, along livestock, right? Like the amount of water that goes to grow a grain is 1/3 of what goes into growing like animal protein, so your beef, your chicken, etc. So it's a matter of, like any food, it is a commodity, water. It is about where it is, how it is being moved. Right now, to feed West Africa, food is flown in from Thailand because it's cheaper to buy rice in Thailand and distribute in West Africa versus to buy locally rice in West Africa.
Okay.
So it's a game. It's a global game. But yeah, sorry. Okay, we're done. We're done. Sorry. We're happy to talk to you bilaterally. Thank you, everyone.